Now, you've heard me talk so many times on the show about how PR is not just about getting featured, right? It's so much more than that. It's not even just about getting onto podcasts or growing your business. To me, PR is knowing how to communicate your brand so that everyone listening leans all the way in and says, hell yes. It's knowing how to communicate so that you can make quantum leaps in your business. And that's why the CPR method exists, is a way of structuring a value-given conversation. We've had people use these skills to not only pitch for PR, to grow their business, but get their stuff into retailers, to pitch to that really scary panel speaking opportunity, to be able to get the hell yes from that person so that they can expose their business to so many people. So on today's show, I want to talk about the 2 ingredients to make every pitch stand out. Now, if you haven't listened to the episode about my proprietary CPR method, which stands for credibility, point of view, and relevance, this is the cold pitching method that I created from literally throwing spaghetti on the wall and cold pitching thousands of times without any PR experience when I started. I started to pick up on what worked and what didn't, and I put it into a framework called CPR. And if you haven't listened to that, definitely go listen to that episode right now, or after this, and you can listen to it at gloriachowpr.com/2. So now that you know about the CPR method, you might be wondering, how can I get my communications, my message, my DM, whatever it may be, more dialed in, right? It's all about communicating in a fewer amount of sentences so that you can capture that person's attention. So the 2 ingredients that I want you to know is specificity and relevance, the 2 magic ingredients to make any communication resonating, relevant, and appealing to the other person, right? So I'll start with the first one, which is specificity. Now, on my PR masterclass and on my monthly calls with my PR students, I always talk about pitching anything in life, like peeling away the layers of an onion. So imagine an onion, right? It's got many different layers. If you just go for the outside layers, it's not very flavorful. It doesn't pack a powerful punch. It's not really going to flavor that dish, right? It's not really usable. But if you really do the work of peeling away the layers of the onion, like peeling away the layers of your message to get very specific, you will be able to get to that juicy core, which is going to take your dish so much further. Same thing goes with pitching. So think about your message like peeling away the layers of an onion. You might start with like a draft that is very fluffy, right? It might be about a very general thing about health and fitness. How can we peel away that layer and talk about what specific aspect of health and fitness? So it might be something about Pilates. How can we peel away that layer even more? It could be about Pilates tips for a certain demographic. Let's say women, right? Let's peel away one more layer. It might be Pilates for women who are recovering from various surgeries, or it might be postpartum Pilates, or it might be low impact Pilates for women over 60 or 70. Do you see how the layers of the onion is being peeled here? So the more specific you get with your communication and your subject line in the subject of your pitch, the better it will be. The higher your chances are of getting that hell yes from the other person. And this applies to any kind of communication as well, right? It could be a LinkedIn DM. It could be an email. It could be an Instagram DM. But remember, in communication, you want to practice specificity. I'll give you another example of what I mean by specificity. One of the things that our PR Starter Pack members knows is that subject lines of any email is so important because your subject lines determine whether or not that email communication gets opened. So the first thing that we need to solve is, how do we get that subject line super punchy, super concise, and super specific? One of the things I love to do actually is in the subject line, write in something that is very specific, such as the time or the date. So if I was pitching a meal planning thing for New Year, New You, I wouldn't put for the new year. I would put for 2023 or 2024, right? If you're doing something for a season, like a gift guide or a product guide, I want to put in exactly the holiday that you're pitching for, right? That is specific. And that leads me to my second point, which is relevance. Specificity and relevance really tied together because it's allowing that person to quickly grasp why what you're saying is important. Because if you lose them, and let's be honest, everyone has the attention span of a goldfish, right? If you're starting your email with pleasantries, how the weather is, how you both went to the same high school, blah, 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 you're losing them, right? You're competing for the journalist's attention. So that means that every single sentence needs to be specific and relevant, starting with the subject line. Now, in the email body, The CPR pitch outlines how you should write about it. But if you're thinking about how can I make my pitch even better, always ask yourself, is this specific enough? Is this relevant to the holiday or the season or the weather or the year or the time or whatever breaking news trend you're trying to ride the coattails of, right? A great litmus test to see if you're being specific or relevant enough is looking at your pitch and thinking, does this pitch apply 5 years into the future? Will it work 5 years, maybe into the past? If the answer is yes, then you need to peel away layers of the onion to get it more specific and more relevant, right? I think a lot of times as founders, we're afraid to be very specific and relevant because one, we want one size to fit all. We want one email to be able to cast a wide net and get everyone to say yes. But it's not going to happen like that, right? You know that even in sales, if you appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one. So shouldn't the same thing apply to pitch writing? And I know it's scary, right? Because a lot of times you have so many things you want to talk about, whether it's your product or your business or the things that you've done. It's so hard to narrow it down to just one specific thing. But remember, the more specific and relevant you can get, the more that person is likely to say yes. So work on peeling away the onion. Always see how you can make it even more specific to a certain demographic, a certain age group, a certain type of person, a customer, whatever it is, right? The pitches that I've seen work really well from our PR students that get them featured over and over and over again, they talk about one specific thing. It's not an encyclopedia of the history of Pilates. It's just one very specific angle, right? And if you think about it as a metaphor, think about your story angle as pieces of a puzzle, right? You're going to have many different pieces and everyone's going to be able to have different pieces to contribute. Now, some of the big, well-known companies might have a really big puzzle piece, but without your little puzzle piece, the puzzle landscape of your industry will not be complete. So it is your sacred duty to put in your little puzzle piece, no matter how small or weird looking, right? So that's really what I mean about pitching is how can we just get that one little angle to get the journalist to look up and say, tell me more, right? The point of the pitch is not to write the story for them. The only thing the pitch is doing is giving them one idea or one perspective so that they can say, okay, tell me more. That's it. I think a lot of times as founders, we make PR and writing into this huge thing that's like, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to fit everything I want to say in one email. And that's good because you should never send an email with everything you want to say. The point of the pitch is just to get the journalist to respond with a simple yes, tell me more, or no, it's not for me right now. That's it. So let's just take the burden and pressure off of our shoulders and realize that anytime we're doing any type of pitching, it's just to get the person on the other side to make a decision. Yes, tell me more, or no, this is not for me. It's really not to stuff the entire history of your business and how you founded and what your co-founder did and your unpublished autobiography. The more it starts to sound like that, the less effective it will be. So my friends, the two things I want you to remember is specificity and relevance. And anytime you're doing any kind of communication, I don't care if it's verbal or if it's on a video, on a podcast, or in someone's DMs, think about the layers of an onion. What layer are you on? Are you on the top layer where you're talking very fluffy about something general that doesn't really add the conversation or give a specific point of view? Or are you able to peel away the layer of an onion to give something very specific and juicy? Remember, in order for you to get through to someone's inbox, it's all about positioning you as an industry expert, someone with a point of view, because experts have point of view, and that's where the specificity comes in. So I encourage you, my friend, to not get bogged down by all the different things that you want to talk about and just go really laser focus on what's that one angle. Start from there. Instead of starting from trying to fit everything into one pitch, start with one specific angle. Because if you can get good at drafting just one angle and knowing the structure of that specificity, you can apply that to so many different angles. So that was just a little tidbit I thought I wanted to share because this topic came up on our recent monthly PR Starter Pack member call where I go live and I review our pitches and we brainstorm and we talk about angles and I do a live training. And this always happens. When someone submits their pitch, it's usually the first or second draft, which usually is the first or second layer of the onion. And very common, I will say on the call, how can we peel away this a little bit more? And then I can see them kind of, their brains are working and they're like, ooh, more that like this and like this. So sometimes you just need to remember, how can I peel away the layer of an onion? All right, all. That was all for today. And if you know anyone who could benefit from what I've shared today, anyone who's a small business, who's a product maker or a founder or a coach, let them know about this podcast. Thank you so much for listening.